America, you have a race problem.
America's historic division over race remains at the heart of so many conflicts we see today.
400 years ago, the first slave ships arrived. A civil war that killed 600,000 people fought over the right to own other human beings. Then, a century of segregation.
He's looking for progress. He wants to move forward in the American mainstream. Segregation holds him back.
Lynchings, redlining, banks drawing literal red lines around black neighborhoods, all inside living memory. And according to half the country, that history never ended. It just changed clothes. And in 2016, they'll tell you it did something it had never done before. It elected a president, Donald J. Trump.
We will make America great again.
That's the story. You've heard it 1,000 times. But the question is it true? If you watch this channel, you know I've made a few videos about Trump already. Why people voted for him, whether his movement survives, and what happens in 2028. And under every single one, the same comments. Vinay, you haven't talked about race. Vinay, Trump is a racist. Vinay, his voters are racist too. So fine, as so many of you have asked, let's break it down. Are Trump voters racist? Are the tens of millions of people who voted for him cut from the same segregated cloth? Oh, and one ground rule. This video is about Trump voters, not about whether Trump himself is racist.
I am the least racist person that you have ever met.
That's a different question. The history of racism in America is real, and nobody serious denies it. The question is whether it explains 80 million votes. That's the accusation, and that's what we're going to test. Let's dive in.
Are you suggesting that the entire Trump vote was racist and by racists?
I think yes.
I surveyed these people. I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump.
But first we have a problem, the word. Racist is doing an enormous amount of work in this argument, and nobody in the comments has agreed on what it means. So let's fix that physically with this board. And in this board, I'm gonna go from most racist to least racist to understand the question, are Trump voters actually racist? So let's start with card 1. Card 1 is open racism, the belief that some races are superior to others. Klan robes, neo-Nazi marches, everyone agrees that this is racism. Card 2 is animus. It's not a grand ideology, but it's just hostility, like at Little Rock High School in the 1950s. These people have negative feelings about others because of their race. Card 3 is resentment. It's no stated hostility at all, but opposition to efforts to fix racial inequality built on beliefs like other groups work their way up, why the special treatment? Remember this card, it's about to become the most important object of this video. Card 4 is defining it as indifference. No negative feelings toward anyone, but not especially bothered by racism either. If the prices of gas or groceries is right, a racist joke at a rally is someone else's problem. And card 5 is egalitarian or equality. It actively believes in equal treatment full stop, that people should be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. So if you see this board, it goes from most racist to, I would say, less racist or not racist at all. It goes from open racism, animus, resentment, indifference to egalitarian. Now here's the trick that explains my entire comment section. When one person insists Trump voters are racist and another insists they're not, they're usually not disagreeing about the voters, they're disagreeing about where on this board the word racist stops. Some people draw the line after card 1. Others draw it all the way past card 4. Now, keep this board in your mind. At the end, we're going to come back to it and we're going to place the actual evidence on it card by card. Just a quick one, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. I'm Dr. Vinay Raniga, a political leadership scholar from the University of Oxford, and I make political explainers that are non-partisan just like this. This video is sponsored by, you guessed it, no one at all, but if you can hit that subscribe button, it helps me create videos just like this for you for free forever. Let's get back to it.
How is it racist? If you don't like this country, get out. Leave. That's all he said. He didn't use any names.
Start with the evidence that makes half the people in my comments so confident. After 2016, political scientists ran autopsies on the election. The popular theory? Economic anxiety. But that kept failing. At the individual level, losing your job or feeling poor barely predicted a Trump vote. So what did? Since the 1980s, surveys have used something called the racial resentment scale. 4 statements you agree or disagree with, like Irish, Italian, Jewish, and many other minorities overcame prejudice and worked their way up. Blacks should do the same without any special favors. Agree strongly, or all the way to disagree strongly. So notice that these 4 questions, first really published by Kinders and Saunders in this book, are actually a machine for measuring this card of resentment. So in 2016, your score on it predicted Trump support better than almost anything else. One major study found that racial and gender attitudes explained Trump voting far better than economic dissatisfaction. The definitive academic book on 2016 found the link between racial attitudes and vote choice was stronger that year than in any other modern election. A third study tracking the same voters over time found the driver wasn't personal hardship, it was the feeling of a group losing its place in line. Note, the researchers use a specific word. They use the word activation, not conversion. The attitudes were already in the electorate, the campaign switched them on.
You see all these immigrant groups, people coming in from other countries. They get tons of assistance, but what about the people who live here, who are, American citizens, have been here all our lives? It's almost like we don't matter enough. Maybe our votes don't matter enough.
So is that case closed and card 3 lights up and the people who commented that Trump voters are racist win? Well, hold on a second, because there's a mathematical problem with everything I just said.
I'm a Democrat, but I actually voted for Trump.
I voted for Donald Trump. I had voted for Obama in the 2 previous elections.
I always voted for liberals, but I voted for Donald Trump.
Those studies measured correlation, which attitudes line up with which votes across the whole electorate. But elections aren't decided by the whole electorate. They're decided by the people who switch.
And are you voting for Donald Trump? Yeah, as of this moment, yeah. I'd be voting for Donald Trump.
Think of a restaurant. Survey everyone eating there and you learn who your typical customer is. But if business suddenly booms, the typical customer can't explain it. You need the new customers. A Stanford team asked exactly that about 2016. Not who were Trump's voters, but who were his new voters, the ones that actually got him the presidency. The answer breaks the simple story. Trump's gains came disproportionately from this side of the board, from white voters with moderate racial attitudes. The high scorers on card 3 were mostly voting Republican anyway. The needle was moved by people sitting around cards 4 and cards 5. And this next point should bother this simple story even more. By most estimates, 6 to 9 million Trump voters in 2016 actually voted for Barack Obama. Some voted for Obama twice, then switched to Trump.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Whole Midwestern counties went Obama, Obama, Trump. Whatever those people were doing, won't vote for someone who doesn't look like them, doesn't survive contact with their own voting history. And one more twist, researchers tracking the same white Americans across the Trump years found express prejudice didn't rise. It fell on measure after measure. So the picture's blurry, but then 2024 happened and the picture wasn't blurry anymore, it broke.
Donald Trump put together by far the most diverse coalition for the Republican Party since the 1980s. 1 in 3 ethnic minority American voters for Donald Trump yesterday, something that many people would have found incredible.
Whatever your theory of Trump voters, it has to explain 2024. Starr County, Texas, on the border, 97% Hispanic. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won it by 60 points. In 2024, Trump won it, the first Republican presidential candidate to do it in over a century. Dearborn, Michigan, America's largest Arab majority city. Trump won that too. And nationally, 48% of Latino voters, up from 36 in 2020 and 28 in 2016. And among Latino men, he won outright. He won 15% of black voters, nearly double the share in 2020. On the famous map of shifts from 2020 to 2024, the arrows pointing right are the biggest in the Bronx, in Queens, in immigrant neighborhoods of Chicago and Houston. And so here's the uncomfortable symmetry of it. The 2016 map, whitest counties swinging hardest, looked like evidence of a racial story. In the 2024 map, the most diverse counties in America swinging right, while voters said prices and the border looks like evidence of an economic one. It's the same candidate, rhetoric if anything harsher, but opposite maps. So which is it? Are the 2016 studies wrong? Are millions of Latino and black voters voting for racism against themselves? Or is something wrong with how we've been asking the question? I think it's the last one. It's time to inspect the measuring device itself.
Well, let me say it one more time. America is not a racist country.
Okay, let's go back to card 3 and the 4-statement scale that measures it. For decades, it's been the standard scientific instrument for detecting racism in politics. But there's one problem. Political scientists aren't sure what it actually detects. A few years ago, 2 Harvard researchers ran a beautifully simple experiment. They took the scale statements and swapped the group. Instead of asking whether black Americans should overcome disadvantage without special favors, they asked it about Lithuanians, a group nobody in America has very strong feelings about. If the scale measures racial animus, changing the group should change the answer. It barely did. Conservative answered almost identically about Lithuanians and African Americans, which suggests the scale may be capturing something else. A general belief that nobody should get special treatment and that hard work explains outcomes. Okay, you may be seeing the picture now and the circularity of it all. Conservative-leaning voters score high on a scale that partly measures conservative beliefs, and their votes for a conservative then gets reported as racial resentment predicting Trump's support. Some of that is real signals. Studies using explicit measures do find genuine animus in a slice of the electorate. There is no denying that. That's cards 1 and 2, and they're not empty. But part of it is the instrument measuring ideology, and then calling it card 2. So in other words, science isn't even sure you can use card 3 on this spectrum at all. And the problem is the 2016 studies all run through the data of card 3. So let's do what I promised and really go back to this board. Cards 1 and 2, open racism and animus, a real slice of the electorate, although a minority, does live here. Surveys and experiments do confirm it. This slice of the electorate has long existed before 2016. What about card 3, resentment? This is where the most famous studies put the strongest 2016 correlation. But after the Lithuanians experiment, we genuinely don't know how much of this card is about race and how much of it is about political ideology. The most cited evidence sits on the most contested card. And cards 4 and 5. This is where the deciders were. The moderates, whose switch actually elected him, the 6 to 9 million Obama-Trump voters, and by 2024, millions of Latino, Black, and Arab American voters.
How many of you voted for President Obama during at least one of the elections? Great, all of you. How many of you voted for President Trump? This is what I think is fascinating.
Now, where does racism stop? After card 1? after card 2, after card 3, 4 even? Here's the honest answer. That's not a scientific question. Science can place people on this board, but it can't tell you where that word begins. That's a moral judgment. And it's the actual thing my comment section has been fighting about all along. Using the same word for different cards. And again, don't misconstrue this. I'm not saying that racism in America doesn't exist, but the way we talk about it has to be more defined. So both sides of my comments are holding half the truth. The attitudes on this board are real, measured, and unevenly spread. The verdict, whether Trump voters are racist or not, really just depends on the line the evidence can't draw for you. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, and tell me in the comments genuinely, where do you draw the red line? Card 2, card 3, card 4? I'll be reading and replying. See you in the next video.